if you're a new act, the deals from major labels or you get offered are so bad, and
Yeah.
and you're signing away your masters for life. You get a small budget for recording it, and it's just not worth it, as I see it, and it's just how I see it. Major labels are really great at taking an artist from 60% to 100%, but from 0% to 60%, they can't do shit.
You're listening to the Label Machine series, a podcast to inspire and help indie record labels and artists to build income streams for their music. I'm Nick Sadler, a music entrepreneur that has helped start and run multiple indie record labels. In this series, I'll be speaking with music industry leaders about their experience and the lessons they learned on how they both market and grow their music income. Welcome to the Label Machine series, where we discuss with successful industry professionals how artists and record labels market and sell their music. My name is Nick Sadler, and today's guest is Soren Mensberg. Soren is an artist manager at Sierra 79 and a booking agent and promoter at TSUNAMI Agency, an independent booking agency focusing on talent development, tours and concerts in Denmark and international artists throughout Scandinavia. His roster includes, amongst others, Liberty, Haynes, Alba, and the trap sensation that is Snavs. Soren, how are you today?
I'm good, Nick. Thank you. Thanks for a lovely introduction. Sorry.
I've done my research.
Yeah, nice.
So, very quick question. Do you say Snavs or Snaves?
Yeah, it depends in where we are in the world. So in Russia they say Snavs, and in China they say something different, and in Denmark we say Snavs.
Snavs.
Yeah.
And what do you say in the US?
I think the
Snavs.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah, but you said it all right. Yeah.
The Snavs. So let's start at the beginning. How did you get started in the music industry? How did you get into it to where you are now?
Basically I was unemployed and I was bored, and I met a friend who were managing a band, and the band were going on tour, and they needed a driver, and I had a driving license, so I were the band's driver for I think a year or something, and that band toured in Denmark and in Germany, and after a year where I was just driving and kind of became a tour manager, keeping track of things. I started to learn all the venues in Denmark, and I met all the venue bookers. And after a year, I talked to my friend who was the manager of the band, and just said, "Hey, I know all the venues, I know all the venue bookers. Why are Live Nation taking 17% of the money if we can do it ourselves?" So we fired Live Nation and started our own agency, basically. Or we didn't knew it was an agency, but it became an agency, and we took on more bands, and suddenly I was a booking agent. It wasn't planned. That was just a coincidence, I guess. And one of our artists suddenly had a massive. No, she featured the biggest rapper in Denmark at that point, because she was drunk in a studio, and he needed a girl to sing the hook. So she just did that, and she did it that good. So they kept that on the final master. So she was featuring on a song that became a massive hit in Denmark, and she became a rising star, and we had success with that girl, and our booking agency just grew. And yeah, that was my way in.
Oh, so yeah, a couple of I guess happy accidents really
Yeah,
to getting
definitely.
to that point. I mean, it's funny you say I was sort of unemployed and then I started helping out of bands. That's not an uncommon story when people start out. They're like, "Well, I just started helping out a band, and then it grew from one thing to another."
Yeah.
But that's a bit of that's very good foresight as well, and a bit of an entrepreneurial flair to notice that, hey, Live Nation's taking all this, we could do it ourselves, and making that jump.
Yeah, and
So
it was also, I mean, I'm not bad mouthing Live Nation, but if you're a small band at a massive agency with a really long roster, sometimes you need to be be a name on a small roster to be prioritized and get the focus you need
yeah,
to develop, and yeah, that was it.
so that sort of leads on to my next questions, which is now you've set up. What are some of the main activities that you do at Third Tsunami around, doing the artist development, etc., from a point of view of bringing on a artist that you've just signed into the roster?
Uh, what the activities are, or how
Yes,
you develop the artist?
so you do talent development, you do
Yeah,
tours and
yeah,
concerts. So yeah, what I guess, yeah, what's the rundown of the main company's activities?
yeah. I mean, in Third Tsunami, I'm a booking agent, so I put on shows and tours and make sure they play live shows, the artists. And in Shera 79, we're doing management, so that's more of a developing and basically developing the artists' businesses, so they earn some money and we earn some money. But it's all tied together, I guess. So when I put on a band on my roster and I'm the band's booking agent, of course I'm advising them to if they get a deal from a label, I'll put on my comments on what they should do. And uh, it also I mean the strategy and when to release music and when to tour, and it's all it needs to be tied up, and it needs to be in a the strategy. You need to have a bigger picture on it. So of course I'm also talking to the bands about all that and helping them out as
Mm-hmm.
much as I can, because I work for the longer perspective always. I'm not just putting on a band on my roster to just make shows and not really care about if they release music and what they release, and only focusing on just making shows. I mean, some agents are doing that and they're really good at it, and the only thing their target is to get the highest fee for the shows. That's also my target, but my target is also when do they play, what stage on that festival, what time, what are the bill, where are they put on the poster, are they 100% billing, or are they 30% billing? What all these details are super important um, in the bigger picture.
So it's really about you are taking a bird's eye view on an artist's career across the important aspects, which is releasing music, developing their career, and getting shows.
Yeah,
And that ties in. So
and
with
it really, in these days where it's so difficult to tour, I've been talking to a lot of label people, major labels and indie labels, and they all have the same problem. It's super difficult for them to promote new music because there's no live shows. it's really been clear to me how important it is for the labels that the bands are touring. The releases and the touring, that's, if you don't have both, it's really difficult. You need both, because it's you can't just release music and then hope for a Spotify playlist to pick it up. You need to be touring to build it up and connect with the audience and connect with your fans and promote the records.
So how much of it do you think, though, is that people are coming to the shows and that's fueling the growth of that? I guess in a band so much, but let's say you're more of maybe with electronic music, say, or you're more of a producer type environment. I mean, are people still not discovering your music online and liking it on Spotify playlists? Or are you saying that it really is essential to get out there and play live to really take it to the next level?
Yeah, for Snavs, he released an album in September, and great album. I think it's the best work he's ever done. But I can just see that not being out in the world playing it live, it's just a.
How much of it, though, do you think is that when you're out playing live, right? You're on the road, right? And everybody's connected online. Everyone's on their phones. They're watching stuff. So if you're an artist out playing live, I might be a fan of that artist. I'm seeing them, like, they're posting, here I'm on stage, here I'm in the tour van, I'm doing, it's all this kind of like great content to kind of be sharing and talking about stuff and tweeting and having conversations. Do you think that is maybe a big part of what actually puts the artist in the face of fans? Or compared to how much is actually, I went to a show and heard somebody and now I'm going to go home and listen to them on Spotify? Because, even if you're touring and you're doing a 1,000 person show and you do 10 shows, that's 10,000 people, right? But if you're doing well, you want to be hitting up like hundreds of thousands of people. So how much do you think that is a part of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. But for me, if I'm going to a club on Saturday and I'm seeing Snavs playing on a club on Saturday, the days before Saturday, I would warm up. I would listen to his newest records. I would listen to my favorite records of his and all that stuff. So it's all gaining for the artist. But I get your point. It's not that, okay, you play in front of 1,000 people and then it's just directly converted to streams on Spotify. The content being out there is also super important. There's something happening all the time and people, his fans following his career, they can see stuff happening and shit, I wanted to be at that show because it looks crazy and all that stuff. But you also, it's all about the music when it all comes to
it's all about the music.
It's all about the music. It's where it starts and where it stops, in my opinion. Also in electronic music, and in the electronic scene, a big part of promoting a record is also sending it to your fellow DJs, so they're playing it live, and maybe somebody is standing there at EDC Las Vegas and just listening to Chesto playing a crazy song, and they're just like, what the fuck is that? Shazamming it. Oh shit, it's a Snavs song. Okay, I'll have to check him out. I mean, it's all.
Yeah, I can see that other people playing your music, if everybody's not out playing, it's kind of affecting everybody, not just you as an artist. So the reason why I've asked that, the reason why I asked that question is because we are in this COVID environment that has affected the music industry and it's affected live shows. And I'm trying to think of what are some ways that artists now can still try and, if you've got a single out or an album, try and at least create those kind of relationships and experiences, and I mean, I know people have tried doing the kind of, live streaming, but, I think you brought up a great point before a show. People are thinking about their artist. They're listening to it. They'll be saying, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going to go see this artist. I'm here. And they're like, oh, wow. yeah, and they might play the music or something. And it's, you know, are there ways that artists can still kind of create that experience without live shows? Yeah, I mean, have you with any of your artists had those conversations on what you can kind of do to create that connection in a world where there aren't live shows?
Yeah, definitely. We've been talking about that for, 8 months, or longer for Snavs, because he's an international touring artist. So his live shows were starting to get locked down in January, at least the shows in Asia. We haven't figured out how to do it, and I think electronic music is especially suffering because, I mean, if you're an indie band, you can play a great show in front of a seated crowd, but electronic music in front of a seated crowd or a drive-in electronic show, it's just not the same. You don't have the energy, and when I see Snaps playing live, it's the energy between the crowd and him. That's the special thing with that concert experience. And how do you create that without being in the same room and without
It's difficult.
Yeah, I don't have the answer. I mean, yeah, that's big challenge right now.
So just before we started this as well, you were talking about live shows with bands, which has also now got its challenges. So you mentioned about seated concerts. So what are you doing with your bands now to kind of address that issue and I guess talk through what the new challenges are around that?
I mean, the challenge right now is that when you go into a venue, you have a production costs and all that, and they're not smaller than normal, and the capacity is halved, or sometimes it's just a third of the capacity tickets you can sell. So you have to, the way to sell more tickets in Denmark right now, you can sell 500 tickets, but you want to reach 1,000 tickets or 1,500 tickets, you need to play 2 shows at one day or 3 shows at one day, and then it's exhausting because as a band you want to play a great show because it's 500 of your fans sitting there, so you need to play a great show. So you can't just play a half-ass show, or if you do that, you're paying the bill because they won't buy a new ticket for your show. So you have to perform 100%, and that's just tough if you play a 90-minute show, and you have to go sell the merch after the show and then take a break to eat some food and then play 90 minutes again. It's crazy.
Would you say, and that is extremely tough on the band, like you said, and doing that 3 times would be even harder.
Yeah.
What's your experience? What's your feeling on the actual experience of the band playing and people sitting down? Is it still a viable thing? Do you think fans are still like, you know what, I went out, I had a good time. I know I couldn't mosh at the front, but I was seated and I enjoyed it. Do you think it's a viable experience?
Yeah, it depends on what band we're talking. Some of the bands I represent are doing it brilliant, and actually they're gaining more from the shows, because when people are seated, they shut up. If they stand up, buy a beer, they go to the bar, they talk and blah blah blah. But if you're seated, it's just so quiet. So if you're a band that really needs a quiet room and to create the magical moments, it's perfect.
More like when you go to see a theatrical performance or something, everyone sits down, no one's talking when the act comes on. Yeah. So I guess it's more suited for if you're a singer-songwriter and you're doing a ballad on a piano, just your voice, it's going to be perfect for that.
Yeah. But I've also seen bands who are suffering because they normally they put on a great show and they have a big production and it's all flashy and blah 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 blah.
Mm.
And now they are cutting their own production costs to make it viable to play live. So they bring out an acoustic show, but people are not they're not fan of you because of that. So they get something, they bought a ticket for one show, but they get another show. Sometimes it's good, but if you're not completely great at that setup and then you're then it's not an advantage. It's bad business.
Charging your fans for a
Yeah. And you have to think that hopefully there's a time after COVID-19. Hopefully.
Yeah.
And if you're and you have to sell tickets after that, so you have to you can't just charge a massive ticket price for a lousy show, because then people when you've seen a band, if it's a great show, you want to go see them again. But if it's a show and the ticket were way too expensive, you don't really want to see it again.
You're like only as good as your last show.
Yeah.
And if it's rubbish, that's it. You're not going to go unless somebody else goes and sees a new show that's good. And they go, oh, no, it's good. It's all right. You should go check it out. And they're like, oh, I don't know. It was all acoustic last time. Rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. So you really have to be careful and you really have to think all these perspectives, and it's super difficult because at the same time you also want to be on the road and just get some income, and that's super important as well, of course. But yeah, it's really there's a lot of really difficult decisions at the moment. Okay.
Yeah, it is tough. You co-manage Riotville Records as well with, and that's with the collaboration with Sierra 79. In what capacity do you help with managing the label?
Yeah, I mean, Riotville Records is Snavs label, and basically Snavs and I started it together. And so we run it together, and I basically just do all the administration
Business
work.
side.
Yeah, and Snavs, he's doing all the creative stuff. So he's the one, of course, listening to the music and A&Ring, and he's also the one who's all the content. He's the one. We have a guy creating it, but he's the one directing it and all the creative aspects.
Are you finding it's more common to see managers helping out with artists running their own indie labels?
Yeah, definitely. We're doing that with the more of the people, more of the bands we represent as management. They're releasing on their own, because if you're a new act, the deals from major labels or you get offered are so bad, and you're signing away your masters for life, and you get a small budget for recording it, and it's just not worth it. As I see it, and it's just how I see it, major labels are really great at taking an artist from 60% to 100%, but from 0% to 60%, they can't do shit. Their setup are way too heavy. They don't have the time to think creative because they're so busy. Everybody's working at a major label. They have way too many artists, and they're just super busy. So they don't have the time to be creative.
Mm.
At least that's what I experience.
No, I
Maybe
agree.
I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. So often I recommend new bands to do it yourself, because when you do it yourself, you also learn a lot about how is it all working.
Mm.
How is it working with the Spotify playlist, and how is it working to pitch on Spotify, and how is it working on sending your music to a pitchfork or whatever it is, and to the radio and all that stuff. So I think that's really it's really important for the artist to know all that stuff,
Mm.
because the artist who's not in the loop on how stuff works, they just think, okay, everything is done by itself, but it's actually hard work. So when the artists release on their own, they know about what's behind releasing music.
Mm. They have a bit more of respect for the industry as well in some ways, and the people involved, because
Exactly.
they
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think majors are great. They can put petrol on the fire, you
Yeah.
know, but you got to have a really good fire burning already, and then
Yeah.
they can amplify it. And I mean, I agree. I say now the best thing you can do as an artist is yeah, just set up your label or release on your own label, and show that you are something. Because that's the other thing about majors as well. There's so many people doing that. That's the way they pick. They'll go like, well, what have you already done yourself? And if
Yeah.
you haven't done anything, they're like, well, there's all these other guys that have got great music and they've done it themselves. They know how to get the ball rolling. They understand their audience. It's going to be so much easier for them to work with them. So,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah, I think those days of being plucked from obscurity and then becoming famous overnight just doesn't happen. I think that happens if you're under 17 years old. 17, 18, maybe that happens. Majors will come and get you young and develop you, and you know, but apart from that, yeah, you just got to set it up yourself. And
I just when you say this, it reminds me of that. I saw that. I was so embarrassed that Universal Denmark, they put up a commercial that a competition on TikTok.
oh yeah,
You can do a TikTok video, and the best TikTok video wins a record deal. Like, fucking hell! You're aiming for kids. You're aiming for small kids who not know what they walk into.
yeah,
Ah, fuck's sake!
it's very predatory.
Win a record deal because of a TikTok video. That's what it's become. I mean, it's fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah. To me, it's just weird. It's just,
yeah,
yeah,
we're not going to be getting the greatest musicians coming through a campaign like that. Because they're just one of the numbers. What they're going to do as well, they're going to look at the TikTok video, they're going to look at who the TikTok person is, and then just go how many followers they got.
yeah,
If they've got 3 million followers, they'll be like, well, cool, we'll just write a record for them. There's 3 million people that are going to buy it, making money.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's that.
So, I mean, we're talking as we're talking about kind of people earlier on in their career. If we, as a book from your booking agent point of view, with your booking agent hat on, what would you recommend artists do early on in their career if they do want to eventually secure a booking agent? What are you looking for? What are you like? Hey, this is a no-brainer. I'm totally going to pick them up and put them on. I'm going to, pick them up as a booking agent.
Yeah, I always want to see them play live, to secure that they are great live. Because if you're a shitty band live, it's difficult for a booking agent to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super important. You have to rehearse and be great at performing live. Then I would always, if I was a band, I would look at my favorite bands, look at their Facebook pages, because often their booking agents are in the information or about section. Just look at them and contact those agents, because if they represent a band that you really like or a DJ that you really like, then they probably understand the genre and then they probably understand the music that you are creating.
And then if they were like, okay, great, I've got my band, we've rehearsed, we've done a couple of shows locally, we feel really tight. I see you manage a band that that we're very similar to. I'm sitting in my front of my computer. I'm going to send you an email. Like, what am I going to write in the email that's going to make you take notice and give a reply?
When there's a reason why I should listen to the band, I always listen to the band.
Mm-hmm.
That could be that we remind you of, or we sound a bit like, or we have wrote this email to you because you represent this band and blah blah blah. I mean,
So
make it personal. Make it. Sometimes you receive an email and you can't just delete it because it's directed to you, and you need to read it. You need to answer it.
mm-hmm.
But often, and that's 90% of the times, it's just a email that could be sent to everybody, and you're just not clicking on it.
Yeah. Keep it personal. I mean, we say the same thing, whether even if you want to secure a feature in a publication or something, find the editor, find their name. Why should they listen to the song? Because the editor has written about this other artist that's similar to them. It's just keeping it personal.
Yeah.
And as
always, I think it's when you're a new band, you have to think about why is it that you want a booking agent. Sometimes the band's just contacting booking agents because, well, all the other bands have a booking agent, but why do you need a booking agent? I mean, why do you need a record label? You need to ask yourself these questions, but often it's just an autopilot and they just do stuff because they think that they're supposed to do it.
Rather than thinking...
If you have often it's the bass player in the band who is good at writing emails. Why isn't he just putting on some shows? You can do it. You can write the venues yourself. You can write another band. Hey, can we open for you on Saturday? You're playing a show in that venue. Can we open for you? Or write the venue. Can we open for that band? Because we sound a bit like it, and we're young, we're fresh. We have a lot of friends who come. Stuff like that. Often you can do it yourself.
Yeah, and let's say, and I guess leading back, why would you need a booking agent? And you could say, we've been doing it ourselves, but the bass player, he's typing out so many emails, he can't play his bass anymore.
Yeah.
So we need somebody because we've got an album coming out in a month and we've got 20 shows. We need somebody to help us organize those 20 shows. You're going to go, great, let's have a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a band coming in, so yeah, I need a booking agent. Yeah, but when is your record coming out? I don't know. Okay, but do you have some music? Yeah, I have some demos. Yeah, but okay, but then it's premature.
It sort of goes back to what you're saying about releasing music as well. You really need to be doing it yourself and being proactive, like releasing music, putting on your own shows as well.
Yeah.
And if if you're putting on if someone does put on a great show, what is gonna, and you go along and check them out, like what is important for you to see that they're just a tight band, like, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, how am I going to get you to come and see my show? Let's say you say, hey, I sound like this band and I want you to come down and see it. Is it just literally, hey, we're a tight show, we sound like this, we're playing near you, can you come down and see us? And that's it.
Yeah, and that's it. And then if I have time, I'll go see as many shows as possible, because I always on the lookout for new bands and yeah. But it can be different. How do you say that? It can be different stuff that turns me on. It can be that you're just really tight, playing really tight, or it can be the energy, or it can be the lyrical content, or I mean, it can be everything. It's not. I'm not looking for one thing, but I'm always looking for something that okay, I can see a perspective. I can see what should I do with this band, and how could I help the band, and what should be the next move, and
Mm.
which festivals should they go for, and um, where can they play? I need to see the perspective in a
Mm.
band.
While we're sort of talking about this as well, what other rookie mistakes or common problems do you see over and over again from?
Yeah, I think the most common mistake is that you're not ready. You think you're ready, but you're not, and then you're missing your chance, basically. One
Um,
of the band that I represent and did a show with last night called Blaue Blume. They had a massive hype in UK in the beginning. So we went over to UK and played some shows at all the cool places. And for the first show at Birthdays in Dalston, it's not there anymore, but unfortunately, it was great venue.
yeah,
But
I do like Birthdays in Dalston. It's a shame it's not there anymore. I think it's just
yeah,
a burger joint or something now.
exactly. Yeah, but the venue was in the basement and
Yeah.
super cool. And I mean, all the big labels were there, but the band were ready. They played a great show, but their songs were not ready.
And
I
what
mean,
were they just not polished enough
yeah,
for the majors? It was more too indie, do you think?
yeah, but all the cool UK indie labels were there too. But we were just not geared for it. And then we went over to London and played a show at, I guess it was See Bright Arms or
Yeah.
Old Blue Last and all that stuff. And every time we went over there, fewer people came. So that we should just have waited.
But when you say you weren't ready, like what specifically, if you've got the music there and you've played it, like what was that missing element that you'd say, like what made it not ready?
They put out some songs on SoundCloud that started the hype,
Mm.
but we didn't have the next songs to follow up.
Gotcha. So it wasn't like, this is our next single and there's a music video and it's
Yeah,
dropping next week. And then
yeah,
everyone's like, oh, wow, 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 wow. And then the labels are like, oh, hey, we should get involved with this. Like,
yeah. But if you don't have the next move, there's also a common mistake. It's just bands put out a song, it gets some hype, it gets them playing some shows, and then they forget to write the next song, and then they if you're getting the momentum and the hype, you have to just be on it and continue and continue and continue. And if you can't do that, your momentum and hype that will disappear.
it's, I mean, I always say that you want to release a new song every 3 months at the beginning of your career at minimum. If you're just doing that, you know, and it's good music, obviously not just putting out music to put out music, that's almost the single best thing you can do for your career in the first couple of years. Constantly having something out, constantly having something to talk about. But you're right, because it's sort of what was Damien Key saying the other day. Otherwise, it's like a boxing fight. You just throw in one punch. There's still another 12 rounds to go. You know,
Yeah,
you need to be doing one and then another and then another and then
yeah,
another.
yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to see it because
Yeah, no, I
that's what
can't.
it's about. Yeah, definitely. You can't just yeah, exactly. That's key.
And that's really like just thinking, yeah, thinking long term. You've got to always be thinking long term.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Snavs, for instance, he just put on between 12 and 20 songs per year ever since I started working with him. He's
Mm.
just been releasing music constantly.
And there's no excuse not to as well. Like, you know, the technology is so cheap. You can record at home on a laptop. Like, there's not really any excuse as well, like to not put out good quality music. Yeah, consistently. And I think that's the same whether you're producing as an electronic artist or a band as well. Um,
Yeah.
so Going on to some like music trends, and I guess this will sort of be drawing from your experiences of specifically with like record sales across, say, any of the labels you manage or artists. Where are you finding royalties are coming from the major platforms? Like, are you mostly from Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Tidal? Like, which ones do you think are working well?
Yeah, right now it's Spotify. It's unfortunately it's really that's just the biggest income, and that's, I mean, it's great. That's great, but I would say it would be nice if there were more services with a bigger audience and where that feeds the artists.
Do you have much experience? Do you sell any stuff directly to fans, like doing merch and things through websites?
Yeah. I was only thinking Snavs when I answered that question, but the bands, they can sell a lot of vinyls, indie bands. So the physical market is still there, but it's limited.
And is that limited just by the fact that if you only order 300 vinyl, you can only sell 300 vinyl?
Yeah, and it's mainly when you play live. I mean, streaming is constantly. That's day and night and all the time, and you don't have to do anything to get a stream.
Yeah, but would you say though, with your merchandise, do you you obviously get to keep a greater share of it, but are many people buying physical online and getting it delivered to them over just buying it at shows?
I think they buy most of it at shows.
Right. And what's selling mostly at shows at the moment?
What items?
Yeah, like vinyl, t-shirts.
Yeah, both. I think right now the people who've been to a show, they're really eager to support the artists, because everybody knows that the music artists are struggling, so they just buy whatever there is in the merch stand right now. If there is a mask, they'll buy that, and whatever it is, they will buy it.
Right.
The merch stands are really popular, especially if the artist goes down to the merch stand after the show. Then you can sell a lot of merch, because people feel that they support the artist directly when they buy something in physically.
Yeah, and the artist is standing there having a conversation with them.
Exactly.
And the artist is like,
them directly.
Yeah, are you going to buy my vinyl now?
Exactly. Yeah. And if you go to a web shop, it feels like, okay, it's just buying whatever. I mean, it's not the direct support. You don't get that feeling.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm wondering if people will get like, hey, we're doing a live Q&A and releasing some new merch this Friday live on Facebook. Like, I wonder how many people would be, they're tuned in, and then you're like, hey guys, so here's the vinyl. Who wants a copy? Click below. Because I wonder if something like that would work. Because you're right, it's that personal thing.
Yeah. I think that depends on which artist it is and what their fans, what kind of fans it is they have. But yes, I just think it's weird with the digital.
Online.
Yeah,
nothing beats being live. Going back to Spotify, what have you been finding works for getting on Spotify playlists? Because getting on playlists now is so sort of essential.
I really don't know. I think it's a jungle, and it seems like they're changing their algorithms, and they're changing the pitch system, and they're changing everything constantly. So it's really difficult to figure out. But it feels like that you never should buy a streaming campaign. That's a no-go, because that will ruin your algorithms. It's super important that it's natural, so that you are related to the right other acts that sounds like you. Because I think that's all. I mean, for the Spotify radio thing, you should be directed to when the audience is listening to a similar artist that's like you. But if you end up at a whatever playlist that you buy your way into, you end up with random songs, and you get affiliated with the random songs, and I think that's bad for your profile on Spotify.
Have you heard of any artists that tried buying some playlist campaigns and it really backfired, like long term for them?
No, I haven't talked to artists who done that, but I've seen examples on from articles and stuff like that, where yeah, it's not working. It's just not working. I think it's about getting followers into your Spotify. So Snavs, he has a relative big amount of followers in there, so that means every time he releases music, it goes out to their release radar and Discover Weekly and all that stuff, and it's all triggering these algorithms. Yeah, and I don't think you can crack the system and figure out how to work.
I completely agree, and it really. I hate to think of how much money some of these playlist companies, because I see them come up on my Instagram feed. You probably see them as well, because we both work in the music industry, and it's like get guaranteed plays, and it's like, oh, it's how many artists must just get sucked into that, and they're shooting themselves in the foot before they've even started. And I imagine as well, Spotify's a smart company. They're all on data. I imagine that there'll be these blacklists, and they'll just be like, well, you're an artist that's paid something. Like, you're already wrecking your future algorithms, because you'll just get on a blacklist. It's the same as buying links and stuff on Google. It's the same thing, isn't it? You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah, exactly. And people are often the new upcoming artists. They don't understand why one of their songs are getting on a massive playlist and get a lot of streams, and then the next song is not in the playlist, and they don't get it. But and I don't get it either. It's just sometimes it feels like it's a roulette. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, and it's just weird. But you have to, and that's a mistake a lot of people are making. But you have to understand the value of the streams. So if you end up on all these playlists, gaming playlist or coffee playlist or whatever it is, H&M store playlist, or all that stuff, those plays you gain from those playlists, they're not worth the same as a play where a fan is typing in your artist name and clicking on your artist page and listening to your music from there. That's dedicated fans, and those are the fans who are buying a ticket to your show and buying some of your merch and buying the vinyl and etc. The fan who's coming back. But the stream you gain from a playlist where you're at whatever random between a lot of random songs, it's a stream, yeah. And in Spotify, it looks like one stream is one stream, but
not all streams are equal.
Yeah, but it is when you look at it and when you look at the numbers. But when you look at it behind the numbers, who is the people who are streaming your music? So you have a band who maybe their top song in Spotify have streamed 1 million times, and then compared to an artist who have millions of streams, then maybe the band with the top song is 1 million stream, they can sell way more concert tickets than the other act who's streaming a lot. So you can't just look at it and see, okay, they're streaming, they're successful. You can't just look at it. It's too simple to look at it at that way. And a lot of people are looking at streaming numbers and think that, okay, they're streaming a lot. A lot of festivals are using that parameter. How do you say that?
Parametric.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's just one factor, but there's.
It's like how agents used to just look at how many Facebook followers you got, like 5 years ago, and you could just buy Facebook followers and then get on big festivals. But then, there'd be no one really at the stage, and they'd be like, why is there no one here? But they're really popular on Facebook. This is before everyone knew you could kind of essentially buy followers. I mean, I always say you should.
Can I say one thing? Sorry, but Snavs, he played a festival, and the billing on the poster were dictated about how many followers on Instagram. And I was like, what the fuck? Are you serious? So your billing is from how many followers on Instagram? What the fuck is wrong with you guys? It's just wrong.
Yeah, very wrong. With Spotify as well, I always say to my artists that you need to look at Spotify as a advertising, as a medium of sharing your music. Like it's just another platform for sharing music, just like YouTube is, just like SoundCloud is. And the bonus is if you get lots of followers on there, then you can get paid for it. You can get paid pretty well if you get into the millions of streams. But it should be a way to just build up your followers. Like just be focused on getting people engaged with you on Spotify, following you on Spotify, and use, because if people are listening to you on Spotify all the time, when you go to do a show, then you've got fans that are going to come along because they've been listening to you on Spotify, which is the most common platform people use for listening, rather than just I'm trying to get lots of numbers because I'm trying to make money on Spotify. It's not the way to use it. You're going to make money off, like you said, playing live shows, showing selling your merch.
Exactly.
So
that's the thing that annoys me the most at the moment, because Spotify, as you say, is the main service right now. It's where people are listening to music, and we really need, or I really miss that you could get some hype on Beatport or SoundCloud and other platforms. There's too much focus on Spotify. If there were other platforms where you could break or could have success, it would ease up a bit. People were not just looking at Spotify. People would consider, people would understand, okay, so there's more perspective, there's more platform.
Well, maybe that's what Universal Denmark thought when they did the TikTok ad.
Maybe.
Where else can we go? What about TikTok? But yeah, it is. I don't really know how the future is going to change either, but it is kind of, you do have to sleep with the beast at the moment, and make the most of it, really. But always know it, it's great at the moment, but it won't be there forever, and do the best that you can. When it comes to just talking a little bit about other sort of like promotion stuff, blogs, do you think they're still relevant these days?
It's not as important as it was for 5 years, 10 years ago, but it's still important. But it's just
when I say blogs as well, I should really say publications, blogs and publications.
Yeah, but it is important, and I think it's it is important, but it's not. I mean, how many people are actually reading that stuff? If you get on this song is sick, how many people are actually reading and clicking through and all that stuff? I don't know, but
I think it's a good way as a stepping stone, because you can say, hey, you can share it online to your fans. Hey, we've just got a review on this song is sick. which is great. It's like another talking point. And then when you go to say speak, if you're like looking at a band and they're like, oh, hey, we've had a whole lot of features on blogs and publications. You're like, okay, you've got more than what somebody who hasn't done that. Okay, yeah, that's interesting.
And it's super great and it's important, but it's not. You can't just rely on that alone. It's that's just one thing.
Do you, when it comes to paid advertising, Facebook and Instagram ads, do you use that much? Do you have much experience, or is that you leave that to somebody else?
Yeah, I hate that stuff. It feels like you're putting money in a black hole. You don't know what you get for the money, and I often have the feeling that if you put money in it, then when you post next time, you need to put money in it, because they figure out that if they just kill your algorithm, you put money in. Fuck that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like they've gone, oh, you've got money, cool. We'll just like make sure you share it.
Yeah.
Do you when it comes to PR companies, and I guess both for promoting a band's release or a show, do you guys do your PR in-house, or do you work with external companies?
Both. Again, depends on what genre and what the territories and what the targets are. Sometimes if it's a Danish artist who Denmark is a really small country and a small market, and there is basically 5 emails you need to write. But if you're aiming for Scandinavia or for UK or for bigger markets, you need I reckon you need a real publicist to work your stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And across the board, just what we were talking about TikTok and stuff. Where are you finding at the moment for your artists they're getting the best feedback or interactions with their fans? Which platforms are working for your bands?
Live shows.
Can tell you're not the biggest fan of social media, are you? Have you heard this new app? It's called Live Shows. It's amazing. You don't even need your phone.
I feel that, okay, it's been a trend, and it's still a trend that, okay, your fans, you should bring your fans into the studio, you should bring them with you, they need to see what you're eating for breakfast, they need to blah, 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 blah. I just miss the mysterious about being a fan of an artist. I don't know much about them, and you want to search the internet and search some articles, and you actually want to read an interview because you want to learn about the artist. But right now it's just this fast food industry where you just get everything just smashed up in your face, and you don't get the chance to be curious and explore the stuff on your own. Just get it all stuffed in your face, and maybe it's just me, but I'm getting sick and tired of it, and it's not.
I agree, and like a little bit of mystery. Like, sure, share some stuff with your fans, but don't just show them all your cards.
No, you're not a star if you're showing them everything. What is there to be a fan of? If you know everything, you see everything, it's like it's the same where when you share stuff that you normally just would share with your friends, then you become more friends with your fans than they're fans of you. I mean, I don't think it's liable. I don't think it's in the long run. I don't think that's the way.
I think it's a pop music way.
Maybe. I don't represent that many pop stars.
Yeah. I think that's where it works.
Yeah.
If you're 20 years old and you're a young heartthrob girl or boy, it works, you know, like, this is what I'm having for breakfast. Oh my God. And like all of that stuff.
Yeah, maybe the problem with me is that I'm not representing them, so I don't
Yeah.
completely understand.
But it's hard because, you know, you do, even if you're representing a more alternative band or music, at the same time, you want that alternative band to be popular within its niche, you know, so you can sell shows and sell records as well. It's a harder balance.
I just wonder if you go completely opposite strategy and just don't have any social media. So the only way people can figure out something about you is talking about it, talking to people who know something. So it's the mouth to mouth
You're gonna
synergy.
have some pretty incredible music for that to work, though.
Yeah,
You're gonna have music where you're like, "Oh my God, what is this? I want to hear more." And then
yeah,
it's like ID, and you're like, "How do I find out?" Like, and you're on some mission. But yeah, if you're the more like, I guess, a mid-level artist, good music, and you can have a career, but it's not like, you know, breaking the molds. Yeah, I think you then have to have a little bit more of that balance.
the game.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time. Anything for the future for you? Like, is it more of the same? Is any artists we should keep an eye out for?
I represent this Swedish girl, and she's. I think it's pretty funny because she she's super alternative, lo-fi, alternative pop music, but she has a YouTube channel with 300,000 subscribers because she did some covers, and which is also a common way to build. But it's just funny with her being what I hate, but she's not that. She's not talking to her fans. She's super closed. It's just funny that she's super alternative, but she's in that platform, a YouTube star. Super alternative. Korantemaa is her name. She's cool. She's dope, and I'm really eager about how that will develop and how we, will, what we will see in the future.
Quarantina, is it?
Korantemaa.
Korantemaa.
Yeah.
You heard it first. Awesome. Well,
But great talk.
yeah.
It's always nice to talk about all these challenging and
It's very challenging at the moment as well.
yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Soren.
Thank you, Nick.